Whew. Jalen Brunson was not getting along with those refs for sure. Oh, God. Welcome back to Honeycomb. We had our chance to watch our first Team USA game. We watched here in Mall of Asia Arena, walked over from Honeycomb, 7 minutes walk, just as we said. It did rain on the way back, but just a little, and we made it back, no problem. But it was great to be able to watch a live show between Greece and the USA, arguably the most boring of the games that were played yesterday, but we enjoyed it anyway. The game started out relatively tight, and we'll get a bit into that later on. But before we knew it, sometime in probably the second quarter, the USA was already ahead by like 20 points. But the game was so entertaining that you barely noticed it. We actually enjoyed watching the whole game despite that very big lead. But yeah, Jalen Brunson not getting along with those refs. He was talking and talking the whole time, and the refs were making him do all these technicalities that they weren't making anyone else do. Like during the free throw, they were like, "Get out of the circle, and I'm gonna pass you the ball." And he was like, "Well, just pass me the ball." And they were like, "No, get out of the circle." And I thought it was really funny to see that kind of thing live and to see Jalen get agitated. I really wonder why the refs are picking on him and maybe even picking on Team USA the way that they are. But USA basketball playing a completely different brand of basketball at FIBA World Cup. As I mentioned in the past, lots of full court man being played at World Cup, and the USA was having none of that. They were playing almost exclusively zone, and only in the half court. They weren't doing any of the full court pressing that the other teams were doing. Very consciously preserving their energy, and especially if if they knew that the team was someone who they could take relatively easily. Austin Reeves was called in last, and I thought it was funny. I posted an Instagram story about all of the different players that are on this team. Anthony Edwards is on this team. Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero, on this team. Austin Reeves is in his second year in the NBA, but he happens to play for the Lakers, so the Philippines loves him. But, man, did Austin live up to his billing on that day? Because the crowd did go wild. There was a lot of cheering for all the different stuff that he was doing, and he did do a lot. He had 15 points, which was the team high. I think also the game high. No, it was not the game high. The game high was actually by number 14, Georgios Papagiannis from Greece. And but Austin did have 6 assists, even a couple steals, a lot of hustle in this game. Very interesting. And he only played for 17 minutes, which was, he was basically the sixth man on this team. And so he ended up winning the TCL MVP of the game. They give one away at every game. It's not that big of a deal. But at the end of every game, there's a little trophy that they give to who TCL, I guess, or the media votes is like the best player of that game. And they all seem to think that it was Austin Reeves. I don't think so. Number 14, Papagiannis, very interestingly named. He had 17 points and 4 rebounds. Also having 4 rebounds and 14 points was Nikos, I have to read this one really, Rokavopoulos. Oh my God. Okay, so these guys were dominating. Greece actually got out to the lead early in the game, and then it was very close, very back and forth until a pivotal moment where the USA brought in off the bench Rookie of the Year from the Orlando Magic, big man, Paolo Banchero, right? And Paolo came in. The nice thing about Paolo is that he's kind of like an undersized big, around 6'10", if I'm not mistaken, but fast. Like he can move around a lot. And when he matched up against these big guys who were frankly eating the lunch of a lot of the USA guards, Jaren Jackson Jr. could not guard these dudes. Paolo came in and he could move really fast, able to get in on, to close in the space when they were doing their fadeaways. And it just shut down that entire operation that they had. And Greece just flat out stopped scoring at that point. Ended up being about a 32-point deficit. towards the end of the fourth quarter. And then one of the players from Greece, I forget. I think it might have been Nikos, sunk a 3-pointer almost at the buzzer, just to bring that deficit down. They end up losing by 28 points. Yeah, from 31 points. He sunk a 3-pointer. They didn't lose by 30 points. They lost by 28 points. Thanasis Antetokounmpo, of course, got a lot of cheers from the crowd. There was a lot of chanting of the word kuya, which in Filipino is older brother. I like to say that Thanasis, if you squint your eyes, he can be the Greek freak. And at least, unlike the other guys on that team, his name is on a Nike shoe, because Giannis, the Greek freak, has all of his brother's names and his parents' names carved into the outsole of every pair of sneakers. So it was fun to see him, right? And to see him play. Unfortunately, he only had 2 points. He missed 2 dunks. He made 1, but the 1 dunk was pretty much a highlight. It was a poster, and I think Walker Kessler. But I will say that Thanasis, for the most part, was familiar to Team USA. They knew who this dude was. Bobby Portis is his teammate. And it was strange. You saw he would get the ball at the top of the arc, and then they would just clear out. Almost like this disrespectful 6 feet of clearance on all sides of Thanasis Antetokounmpo, knowing that he wouldn't shoot the ball, he wouldn't drive the ball, and if they fouled him, he wouldn't make the free throws anyway. I think he missed 4 free throws. So that was unfortunate. There's a lot of cheering for him. Greece does love the Antetokounmpo family, but unfortunately, Thanasis was a little bit of a no-show at this game. Hopefully, he'll get his moment here at the World Cup, but yesterday was not it. We were late into the game. That's it for the Team USA game. Nothing much of note except that Austin Reeves is a star, at least a star in the Philippines. But we were a little bit late into the game because the previous game went into overtime, and that's probably the most exciting of the games that happened yesterday. That was New Zealand versus Jordan. The Tall Blacks. Very distributed scoring on the New Zealand team. I think no one scored above 12 or 14 points. But there was a huge performance by TNT star Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. Hollis-Jefferson, I believe, is 28 years old, and he hasn't played in the NBA for 3 years. He used to be on the Brooklyn Nets, on the Raptors, and one other team. I can't remember what that was. And then since 2001, I guess he was either waived or he didn't get a free agent contract, and has been traveling the world right now. He actually lives in the Philippines and has been playing for TNT. And I think he's won 2 cups, the Governor's Cup and another one here in the PBA. And he has been balling out this entire tournament. In fact, if you just go back and look at the highlights of the Jordan team, it's all Hollis-Jefferson. And this game in particular, he had 39 points in 43 minutes. And if you think that overtime is 5 minutes and each quarter is 40 minutes, that means that he only rested for 30 seconds a quarter, and he played all of overtime. They came back from a double-digit deficit, and Hollis-Jefferson makes a very clutch. He makes a very clutch basket with an and one, and is able to tie the score to bring the game into overtime. Fortunately, they lost despite this heroic effort by Hollis-Jefferson. Very Kobe-esque gameplay. Very Kobe-esque gameplay. I think that he might be getting sick of the amount of comparisons he's getting to Kobe Bryant. I think a lot of people would be sick of getting compared to Kobe Bryant every day, despite it being an honor. He is kind of his own dude. And it is an interesting storyline that he is so fantastic, not in the NBA, but able to make these plays. The game tomorrow, USA versus Jordan, that'll be interesting to see how he performs up against fellow NBA players who are slightly above his caliber and some that are kind of at his caliber. Some of these guys, they have their jobs in the NBA, but it's not because they're superstars, right? They're very much a lot of regular dudes on this Team USA team. And it'll be interesting to see how he matches up against some of them, him being a little bit older, a little bit more in his prime versus some of these dudes who are, Paolo Banchero is like 19 years old, I think, or 20 years old. And Jalen Brunson as well, I think, is in his like fourth, fifth year in the NBA. So a hugely young team. And I think that this New Zealand versus Jordan game is quite characteristic of a lot of the games here at FIBA World Cup, which is that for the most part, when you have superstar performances from a single player, the team usually doesn't win. What works really well is lots of passing, a distributed game, and then most of the players scoring 8 to 12 points. And then maybe you have an Austin Reeves who scores 15 points and has a lot of assists. I should mention that Paolo Banchero, who in my opinion was the star of that USA versus Greece game, he is a pivotal point that really changed the direction of the game and allowed the US to score so many points over Greece. It really was a matter of shutting down those offensive forces on the Greek team of Papagiannis and let's just call him Nikos. But yeah, huge scoring performances usually are not that huge an impact at FIBA World Cup. Even with, what's his name? Karl Anthony Towns, I believe, and in their last game scored 24 points, which is high for the World Cup. But even then, he was matched by Andres Feliz, who is the starting guard for the Dominican Republic. All that said, there is one exception, and I think you know who it is, Luka Doncic, who in yesterday's game versus Georgia, the Slovenians beat them by 21 points, and Luka scored 34 of those points. 34 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists in 32 minutes. Luka balling out, Luka being Luka, and Luka being Slovenia's Luka is, of course, they just have to close out this their group. As I said, it's kind of a foregone conclusion. They are going to sweep their group. They have clinched their spot here in Manila. So we are going to get Luka Doncic here in Manila. Let's buy some tickets, guys. And that's going to be super exciting, especially since he is the exception. Further solidifying my point that Luka is probably the best player in the World Cup. And it'll be super interesting to see when he gets here, if that is enough. Versus this Team USA, it actually might be. Versus Canada, I don't know. Again, Canada, another very well-distributed team. You see Kelly Olynyk scoring 12 points in their games. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. We're going to go now and watch the Gilas game. It is the last game of real consequence for Gilas today. This is Gilas versus Italy. I might have misspoken and said that this is their last game. This is not their last game. This is just their last kind of game of consequence, where if they lose this game, they cannot progress in the tournament. They still have to play 1 or 2 more classification games to establish their rank. But it should be noted that the highest ranked Asian team automatically goes into the Paris 2024 Olympics. So Gilas right now is in second place in that group, which is pretty interesting, pretty massive, because China did not do well. And Japan is 1-1. They're gonna lose today, I think. If you ask me, they're almost for sure gonna lose today. I believe they're playing Australia, which is a massive team. And I think if Gilas wins today by something like 4 points and Japan loses by more than 5 points, the plus minus will work out in a way that the Gilas Philippine team will be ahead by just a little bit. And through classification, we might be able to secure a spot in the Olympics. So it's not over for the Philippine team. But hopefully, if we do make it in the Olympics, it is over for Coach Chot. I'm sorry. I've been trying to have an open mind about this, but there's a part of me that wants to go to Mendiola or have an EDSA Cuatro and oust Coach Chot out of that position, because we cannot have this guy be our coach. I'm sorry. He's just not good enough. All right. I'm going to go pop on my Gilas jersey. We're going to head back over to Jordan, Manila, catch a watch party. No Arenate tickets, unfortunately for us. But I'm going to grab the baristas. We're going to round everyone up, go over to Jordan, Manila, catch this last game. This last game of Gilas Pilipinas. It's been a great ride. Maybe after this episode, we'll see if we'll still do daily shows or every other show. But I do want to do one big wrap show for the group stages so that we can talk about who's coming to Manila, who we expect to do really well here, and who we're excited to see. Who are you excited to see? I'd like to know your comments. Do let me know in the comment section down below. Again, comment your country's flag if you are enjoying the World Cup. I wish you guys good luck, good health, and go Team Philippines, go Gilas. Peace.